We're back with What About Nutrition with Mr. Nutrition, Mr. David Gall of O'Fallon Nutrition in O'Fallon, Missouri. And you can always find them on the web at O'FallonNutrition.com, O'FallonNutrition.com. And if you have any questions ever, we want to start building this as we go along.
Sure.
And maybe we haven't given out the email address enough yet, but certainly if you have any questions about anything you've heard on the shows or the archive shows that you can find, by the way, on O'FallonNutrition.com website, how can they email us?
Oh, it's just very simple. It's a Gmail email address. It's whataboutnutrition@gmail.com.
Can't get any simpler than that. Whataboutnutrition@gmail.com. All right, David, part two. I think we're talking about thyroid.
That's right. So I spent a lot of time in part one discussing iodine and that book, Iodine, Why You Need It, by Dr. Brownstein, MD. And basically, we were just talking about how there might be more deficiency in iodine than previously thought. And moving forward with that and this idea of low thyroid, it occurred to me during the break that I also wanted to bring up the fact that often thyroid testing medically is inadequate. In the sense that often they only run one test. So there's probably folks out there that might wonder if they have thyroid issues, but when they've been tested, they've been told that they were just normal or close enough to normal, low normal. And I want to talk about that for a moment because that's a person that really can benefit from hearing this and may also benefit from some nutrition. So often they just do a test called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. And this is a test of a hormone that stimulates the thyroid. It is not a test of hormones produced by the thyroid. So if only the TSH test is run and a person has symptoms of low thyroid like low temperature, cold hands and feet, fatigue, gains weight easily, maybe even thinning hair, things like that at the more extreme level, but good old fatigue, cold, tired, and overweight is usually how they summarize low thyroid. So I just want everybody to know that there's other tests. You can have the hormones T3 and T4, the actual thyroid hormones tested. There's also a crazy hormone called reverse T3 that blocks T3, which is the most active thyroid hormone. So I just want folks to be aware that they can get a little test along with these thyroid tests for this hormone that blocks their thyroid hormone. And the reason it's so important is what if you get a test and you test TSH and you test T3 and T4 and they seem normal and your doctor goes, well, you're normal, but meanwhile you're cold, tired, and overweight. Well, it could be that your reverse T3, the one that blocks T3, is really high. Or it could be that you have high what they call thyroid antibodies. So there are multiple tests. Books like The Diet Cure by Julia Ross and others, or Googling thyroid testing can help you with this. The point is that if you want thorough, complete thyroid testing, you're going to need anywhere from 3 to 8 tests. And TSH is not sufficient. It does not paint a picture of thyroid health. So I just want to get that out there. Now, in addition to iodine, the amino acid that we've discussed a lot in here, tyrosine, plays a critical role here. So the recipe for thyroid hormone is tyrosine plus iodine. Doesn't get any simpler than that. It's actually amazing. We've heard of T3 and T4. I just mentioned them. T3 and T4, the T actually stands for tyrosine, and the 3 or the 4 stands for how many molecules of iodine are attached to it. So just like H2O is water, tyrosine is so important to thyroid that the names of the thyroid hormones, the T stands for tyrosine. Okay? So, tyrosine's pretty cool stuff. So there are a lot of supplements out there that combine a little iodine with tyrosine. And some of them combine very large amounts of iodine, which is reflecting some of the more recent research that I was mentioning in the first segment that seems to be indicating that higher doses of iodine might be necessary, higher doses than previously thought. But at O'Fallon Nutrition, we carry products that follow both the low dose and the higher dose iodine philosophy. And so we'll have products like Thyroid Energy by Now, which is our most popular thyroid product, that combines 1,000 milligrams of that awesome amino acid L-tyrosine with iodine from herbs such as kelp. And then it has the herb ashwagandha that we mentioned in our adrenal episode. Ashwagandha in studies raises levels of T3, the most active thyroid hormone, the one that frankly is most involved in weight loss and metabolism. So ashwagandha is wonderful for that. Herbs like Google raise thyroid, but I don't need to get into a kitchen sink list of those. The point is that there are supplements that combine these things. Metabolic Advantage by a company named Enzymatic Therapy is another very, very famous one, and that's one that includes a little thyroid glandular. So in our last episode, we talked about some adrenal health products for late, severe stages of adrenal exhaustion have adrenal glandular. Some of the thyroid products have thyroid glandular. And it's kind of like everybody's heard of the, not everybody, but some people have heard of the prescription Armour thyroid, which is natural thyroid that's available as a prescription, but it's made from pig thyroid. So in health food stores, you can buy things that are known as like thyroid glandular that have had most of the thyroid hormone removed, but still may have a little bit of thyroid activity left in them, and they can be synergistic or used along with things like iodine and tyrosine, and usually they're built into a supplement.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. So basically, a lot of folks aren't aware that they might be able to support thyroid health with additional iodine, tyrosine, perhaps certain herbs such as ashwagandha. Very important to know. And frankly, in cases, even some of the books we're talking about will recommend that when folks do have really, truly very, very low levels of the hormone, sometimes they do need medication. So I'll leave that up to folks. They should definitely consult their physicians about this. But there are cases, even in alternative medicine, where using a little bit of thyroid medication might make sense. Although, let's go along with the idea of supporting the health of the thyroid with basic nutrition. Your multivitamin, your B complex is important, balancing our blood sugar.
Sure.
And then getting sufficient iodine and tyrosine and stuff. But I have seen some really dramatic effects from these supplements with some of our customers over the years. And I'm somebody that believes that in cases of just simple, mildly low thyroid, some of them might respond really well to additional iodine and tyrosine. That might even be the reason that they're having issues in the first place. What about nutrition? Why is it that all these folks are going on thyroid medication, that it's something like a fifth of the American population? I think it's because of nutrition. I think it's because we are consuming foods like brominated flour and possibly fluoridated water that might be blocking the uptake of iodine.
Yeah.
And then I think it's insufficient iodine intake. In addition to that, most of us don't live that close to the ocean. You only get iodine from ocean foods. If you're not eating a lot of ocean foods, you're probably not consuming that much iodine.
Yeah, and we all know that even though that salt is still has iodine.
Has iodine.
I mean,
it also actually is manufactured using some of these bromides.
Yes.
So ironically, our
and people
salt is
cut back on
iodized.
salt because
exactly.
of high
That's
blood
another
pressure.
factor. That's another factor. Yeah. So we got to get our iodine somewhere, and it's worth Googling because, like vitamin D, I predict that over the next 5 years, you're going to be hearing a lot about iodine. And don't forget about the link to breast health. Deficiencies in iodine have been shown to contribute to things like fibrocystic breast disease, and there are links with breast cancer, so this is worth looking into. And for the last minute or two, I want to mention something called thyroiditis. There's folks out there that are allergic to their own thyroid glands, and it's called thyroiditis or Hashimoto's disease, and this is not fun. Very much a bummer. And they can have situations where they go hyperthyroid, where it's too high and they're all agitated and overworked, and then all of a sudden their thyroid crashes, and then they start gaining weight and getting tired. And this does have links to the adrenal gland, so that's my point. One of the things the adrenal glands also play a role in that I didn't talk about much last week is helping to regulate the immune system. And so often when the adrenals get out of whack, the thyroid might downregulate, or if the immune system is starting to malfunction as a result of adrenal exhaustion, that's one of the things that can lead the immune system to possibly attack the thyroid gland. So in those situations of somebody's been diagnosed with Hashimoto's or thyroiditis, I would encourage them to look into whether or not they're adrenal exhausted. They can actually have cortisol tests, or they can look into books like this Diet Cure by Julia Ross, which have questionnaires in there to help you determine what the heck is going on, or even just talk to folks at O'Fallon Nutrition. But that basically is an inflammatory response where the immune system is attacking the thyroid, and we want to calm that down. Usually that's done by calming the adrenals. Sometimes iodine can be helpful for that, sometimes not, so I won't go into too much detail over the radio with that. I also want to encourage everybody, if they want to learn more about this, there's a great website. It's www.terrytalksnutrition.com. This is the website of Terry Lemerond, who's a legend in the world of nutrition. He founded a company called Enzymatic Therapy a couple decades ago that's very famous. Now he has a new company called Europharma. But Terry was a real pioneer in knowledge of nutrition and a great formulator of products. And if you go to terrytalksnutrition.com, that's his information site. It's not his sell you everything site. And he has a number, 3 or 4 excellent articles on iodine as well as hypothyroid that I strongly encourage people to to read. We give some of them out for free at our store in O'Fallon Nutrition. You're welcome to walk in and say, hey, I'd like some of that iodine information. I don't feel like buying anything today. I just want info. We'll give it to you. So come on in, and we'll try and help you out.
But I'll tell you what, you run a great store, and your help is very well educated, and you train them constantly. And that's one of the things about O'Fallon Nutrition is you can always count on, you don't have some young kid behind the counter that doesn't know anything and doesn't know much more than you do to go find it alphabetically on a shelf somewhere.
That's right.
I mean, you guys take it very seriously, and that's one reason why you're doing the radio show is because it's a part of the training, it's part of the education to your consumer.
Right.
And everything else. And I've learned so much from this show. Anything else today?
Well, just going along with it, I wanted to point out, even this week, my wife and I were talking, and we decided that we really wanted to emphasize the fact that our business, to some degree, is an educational institution.
Yeah.
And as a lot of folks that might have heard this radio show can tell, that is a big part of it. We have books in the store you're welcome to look at for free. We have software in the store called HyperHealth, which is more sophisticated than any of our competitors have, that has more data than any of them, and actually has references to all the information, so we print stuff from that. And the last few seconds here, I should comment, folks may want to look at our website, www.o'fallonnutrition.com. There's a section called the reference room where you can look up conditions. For example, you can look up hypothyroidism. And this is FDA-approved information that we have on our website. It'll walk you through all the standard medical diagnosis of this, standard medical treatments, but then it will discuss alternative treatments, and it even ranks them based on how well they do in scientific research. So some things will be ranked very high with 4 or 5 stars. Other things will be ranked very low because they don't have much evidence that they work. And again, so we really try to provide good quality information, and feel free to email us at whataboutnutrition@gmail.com. And Steve, I'll let you take it from here.
Whataboutnutrition@gmail.com, and it's www.o'fallonnutrition.com. It's What About Nutrition on this radio station. We're going to say goodbye to you this week. We'll see you next weekend. Westplex Radio. Steve Casper, David Gull, O'Fallon Nutrition. What About Nutrition, right here.